Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Kenley, and I just want to remind you, today counts. Yeah, that's right. Hey, whether you're in recovery or just trying to live with more purpose, our short videos are here to help you slow down, breathe, and find your footing one day at a time. You can find Today Counts content by searching my name, Jeff Kenley, JEFFKENLEY, or Jeff_Today Counts_ on most social media sites. Big thanks to Craig McQueen Music and this podcast right here. Thanks for your incredible support. Remember, progress over perfection, because today counts. Hey, look forward to seeing you. Peace, love, y'all.
Ruby Retreat, and that's where we're going to be broadcasting from. Jump Off Joe Lake. It's a really nice spot that he has. It's a little cabin with a dock and just a place to kind of get away from the rat race and enjoy some time with some family on a nice waterfront. It's hard to find these days. It's not as easy.
Beautiful spot out there.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. That's where you guys usually do the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. At Five Sons Enterprises, we don't just support music, we build it. From broadcasting and promotion to merchandise, social media, and talent development, we help artists and brands turn sound into something bigger. Whether you're launching your first track or growing a full-scale music brand, Five Sons Enterprises gives you the tools, the reach, and the momentum to be heard. Five Sons Enterprises, where music meets opportunity.
Every song starts as a feeling. Here's where that feeling finds a voice. No pressure, no gimmicks, just the space to make something real. Whether it's your first track, EP, or your next record, this room is ready. Come check out Dusty Dog Studios today.
Welcome to the At Lunch Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 6, and we're at Bradley's Taekwondo in Chewelah, Washington, and we have our guest today, Dan Prado. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing Dan-tastic.
Dan-tastic. That is awesome. And then, of course, we've got Dylan over here, and he's in his element here. He's definitely feeling good today. And I'd show you what Will is doing, but he likes to be off camera. So we've got Will here, too. Just having a good time. We're going to be interviewing Dan again. We had him on the first season, and that was, we were trying to do the math. I think it was like about 8 months ago now.
Yeah.
And so how have things been, Dan? What have you been up to?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I sure have been looking forward to hooking up with all of you again, and here I am. This is a beautiful day. I'm meeting up with winners. I get to continue my journey in life, and that is to empower people to see themselves and others better than they are. So how good does it get, right? So over the last probably 8 months or so, I've continued working in the executive coaching part, sales training, and the machine tool sales business, repping. So all of that's still expanding, and some bigger and better things are coming from it. And something we'll probably talk about a little bit too is that, you plant the seed way back when, and now you get to see it grow. And
you were talking earlier outside about, some of the companies you're working for, you're seeing some really good progress with those companies. So that's got to be very rewarding.
Oh, it is, Dylan. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
To
For sure.
see that'll pay off for them.
The passion is strong still, continues to grow. I love the energy. I love to bring the heat, and I'm ready to expand more. What's great about being 67 years old and still doing what I do is that I still have that kid energy in me, and it hasn't gone away. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it going away until I actually go away. So, and who knows when that will be. I just hope I got a longer time here to do that, because I love challenging people. I love being here. We got some great people here behind us.
Absolutely. They're sparring back there. Yeah, it's so great that we were able to talk to Sam Bradley and lock in this space to do our podcast today at lunch. And we really are in Chewelah, because you could hear the siren going off at noon. We're filming this at lunch in Chewelah, which is this is a little dojo here that's been here for quite a while, and it's just great to see what they do. They go to nationals. They're getting ready to go to New Orleans for the nationals, and it's just so exciting. And I'm so happy to be here to be doing that, and then to be here with you, Dan, in your element. I mean, this is like very much like coming home for you, isn't it?
It is, Craig. That's what I think is so exciting is that you put something like this together here. And how amazing of the relationship developed here in this wonderful city that you could do something like that and help each other, promote some great things, not only, Taekwondo and mixed martial arts in itself, but your music and personal development and growth. And we tie that all in
I'm going
here.
to just bring this mic just a little closer. That will help Will over there. He's over there riding the fader. So being in this atmosphere, I don't know what it is because of my background of wrestling in front of, quite a few people and boxing in front of thousands of people at high levels. And, just walking into a gym and you smell it, it just grabs you.
Yeah.
This is where the work's being done. And here's the beautiful thing. Now they're going to be participating and getting after it, competing in New Orleans, right? Pretty soon, 10 days or something, I think.
Yeah.
This is a great way to start this out. Behind the scenes, doing what you have to do when no one's there, no crowds are there to watch you, right? Doing what Mike Tyson says best. Mike says, do the things that you hate to do, but when you do them like you love them.
Right. That's discipline.
Yes. Yeah. And so here we are. How cool is this? They're doing their work now privately, so publicly they'll be recognized as the champions who step out there and make it happen. Now, I believe it takes a tremendous amount of courage to put yourself out there in the public. A lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be disappointed. They don't want to get discouraged from it all. They don't want people to see where the faults are. Well, I can guarantee you every human being has faults. And some of us know what those are with our fellow friends and family members and so on. However, that's not what it's about. It's about growth. And growth only comes through the struggles. I mean, look at your musical backgrounds. How many times have you went, okay, cut, guys, no, that doesn't sound good. Let's go again. Let's hit that again,
How many
right?
times, Craig?
I'm thinking like the Beatles, right? You're going to lose that, girl. You're going to, wait, cut,
Well, so like today I got an acoustic jam right after this, and we were planning on doing it we've been doing it on the first Thursday because it's First Thursday Art Walk, and we always do it at the same venue, but found out from the new owner that he had planned another event on the same time. So instead of like being woe's me, I just reached out to another place that I'm involved with and got them to go ahead with letting us do it there. So,
I love that.
There you go.
The art of adaptation. Look at it on the fly. You just went from, in the ring, from, boxing your style and then switching to a southpaw, and you did it on the fly, and I love it.
Yeah,
I love
duck
it.
and weave maneuver.
Yeah.
That happened to us one time when a guy was supposed to have a bunch of CDs done for us for a knitting factory show. And we ended up, all I had was some posters on a file, and he didn't have nothing else ready, so I had to have something for the show, and I went and got a bunch of posters, and we ended up selling every one of them.
See?
I had to have something, though. I couldn't show up empty-handed.
If there's a will, my friend Will over there, but if there's a will, there's a way. Dylan, I love that.
Yeah, you just got to think on the fly sometimes. There's those windows of opportunity, right? Like we call them windows of opportunity.
Please.
It's like this.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this little space in time that is just this mysterious space in time, right? And especially in fighting, being able to identify those windows, right? Yeah. Of opportunity, where you can get that jab in, or you can slip that arm and get the arm lock going. But I realized that this morning that analogy applies to everything in our lives.
It does.
These little windows.
It does.
But we got to learn how to identify them, right?
Yeah.
Because if we don't see them, and we're going to miss it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's huge right there. I mean, how often is it that we get ourselves into a position to succeed at something and then we get smacked right in the face and we have to make a detour? And that's what you're talking about, right? On the fly, making it happen, adapting. Of all the abilities of all, sometimes it's adaptability. It just is, right? And it's interesting you brought up the window topic. About 4 years ago, I did a talk with Team Alpha Male, and he's become a good friend. Very nice. It's not like we barbecue out in the back and do all that stuff because he lives in Sacramento area. But Josh Emmett, and Josh is one of the top. I think he holds, if I'm not mistaken, he's either number 1 or 2 for the most knockouts in UFC history.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and he's got an overhand right that it looks like a brick, and when it hits, it lands and it's powerful.
Brick in a sock.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. There's usually a sound. There's usually like a sound like a pop and then a thud, and he's really good at it. But anyway, he mentioned to me one time. I was talking about the windows of opportunity, Dylan, so I'm glad you brought that up. And in there, I actually did a visual of that, saying, hey, our window, depending on what age you are, depending on your health, is, some have big windows. You're 15, you're 20, you're 25. It's a pretty good window. Mm-hmm. You're 40, the window starts to get a little shut down. And then as you get in the 60s, and at that time it was about 63 maybe. And I said, my window still, I'm going to do a lot in that window while it's open. Yeah. I got a lot to do. I'm going to let the air in. I'm going to breathe it. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it all in. And I said, that's an area. So some of you who know that time is an issue, you have to condense the time it takes to be successful at what you want to be successful at. So you got to commit. And even what you said just a moment ago, it is the disciplines. Because the disciplines allows you to do your simple little ordinary things every day extraordinarily well. Yeah. Through discipline. Because with it you flourish, without it you perish.
Well, and like with me, I really try to, with the job I've been doing is the team and being in correspondence with the team almost to an annoying level, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Because I think what happens is I work with a lot of really busy people and they tend to miss details. Or like forget to do something that you ask them to do because they're just so pulled in so many different directions. So with me, I just make sure I put it in my phone that moment when I get that, to schedule it so that I don't forget it. Because what'll happen is I'll get sidetracked on the next best thing.
Yes.
And then I forget to do the work that I said I was going to do. So, and it's just because I take it so seriously that, hey, I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not gonna hold back.
Yeah. No, I like this. Now, this really just kicked in something with me here. One of my favorite books, Fierce Conversations by Dr. Susan Scott. And when you talked about detail, and sometimes people, because they got a lot on their mind, they'll slip out for a second and get back in, and they've missed something. A very important detail. And so her motto is, be here, prepared to be nowhere else.
Right.
That's it. Well, be here, prepared to be nowhere else.
In the now and in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the crucial thing is, being able to clear your mechanism. Because yesterday, honestly, I was going through tons of turmoil because I got hacked and my social media pages were under attack, and even my most important email that's kind of tied to all of it was under threat, and my IP address was coming up in Russia and China and the UK. I mean, this all happened within hours. I mean, it didn't take long at all, and it was just going all over the place. So but then I had an appointment that I had to go to, so I had to completely clear that out of my brain and just focus on the task at hand and get that done. And that way, I could actually, be successful and get the win and get the signature, because it's all about, for me to be able to make money at what I do, I have to get that signature.
Well, I compliment you because, to be able to recognize that happening to you. See, what happens is it's not so much that we get knocked off our bike, right? Or we fall off our bike. It's the time it takes to get back on the bike. It's a given. We've got to get back on the bike. Okay?
Right.
We're big enough now. Now, what I do like is that you did something that I talked to a high school wrestling team last week before they went to the state championships. Lakeland High, the Lakeland Hawks. And so what I said to them was, some of you are going to get into a position in your matches where you're going to get down. Get it out of your head quickly and get back up. All you have to do is say to yourself, at this moment, I'm going to give it my very best effort in this moment. Now, with that said, I want you to learn, and this is going to take you in areas of your life that's going to benefit you tremendously, and that is learn to master your emotions. You know, if you look at some of the highest achievers in any facet of life, they're the ones that are kind of quiet sometimes when things get tense. They don't talk about it. They don't answer right away. They take it in, they digest it, they let it marinate a little bit, and then they're able to come up with something very positive from it. Because if you don't learn to control your emotions, you're going to be at the mercy of them. You know, I always say it's like, take control of the day. You run the day or the day runs you. It's true.
When you get in those moments, I found just, you know, the analogy, the picture that I see in my mind is a fulcrum with two sides. And there's negativity and positivity, right? It's constantly in motion and whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But the two are present. And so it's, you know, when I get into those where I just can't decide what I'm going to do, it's really a good thing to just sort of, it's almost like a meditation thing. And it only takes about 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And you just sit down and think about emptying your head of everything. Just forget about all of it. Okay. And then what arises first in your mind after that, being able to clear it, what arises first is the direction you need to go, or it will rise to the surface in a clear mind.
Right.
So, and then, you know, the importance or the, you know, whatever, you know, sequence that it's supposed to fall into, it will. And so, but I don't think it happens if we're, you know, it's not going to happen if we're going from one. They say something, we have like some 150,000 thoughts a day or something like that. When I took anatomy and physiology, they're like,
yep, I believe it.
They've done tests that hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day. But there's only a few that stand out each day. Wow. Each day, right? There's maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5. You knock on a door, you get a good sale. You know, that thought's going to stick in your head, right?
Right.
And I like that because once you get that positivity and that momentum rolling, then, you know, there's no room for anything else, right? There's no room for any other. You're on that momentum. You're on that roll. And there really isn't any room for it. You know, when we were selling together and stuff, you know, that's the way it was.
You're actually firing me up right now.
Yeah,
just
you really wanted
your
to get
body
that.
language right now, for me, watching you as you're explaining this, that's the power of what you're talking about, right? What you did is you just uncluttered that. You took old archaic furniture out of your brain and you put in
a whole new set to sit on.
New set to sit on. You cleared your mind, and I love it. I think it's great because when you're talking about being detailed, Craig, like you need to be, right? And Dylan, we got to have a clear mind before you can even move anywhere, right? And that goes back to the attitude thing. And people, you know, nowadays people, they kind of hear this all the time. They go, your attitude means everything. Oh, yeah, attitude doesn't. I'm going to tell you, it starts with attitude. Yeah. Because I've often heard this. I'm at the gym and somebody says, I'm just not motivated enough. I said, well, start taking action. And through action, you become motivated.
Yeah, and how many times have we used our own attitude against ourselves to tell us, hey,
all the time.
Most of the time, right?
All the time, yeah.
So, that's that ties into our willpower, right? So we tap into that willpower through that discipline. And, you know, those are all related. Right. They're all...
Right.
Well, and it came up in our, we were just talking in the, you know, the sales team, and situations happen. you can't control the situation. The situation happens. What you can control is your reaction to it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's crucial if you're dealing in a high-stress job, is that you need to remember that your reaction is under your control. So you don't need to overreact. You need to just let whatever happens happen, and then think of an appropriate way to respond. But don't overreact, and don't react too soon. The power of the pause, right?
The power of the pause. That's beautiful. There needs to be more of that. That's an area where I'm glad you brought that up, by the way, because that's an area that I need to improve upon. I recognize it. I think when people recognize they have deficiencies, don't try to hide it. People already know you have it. So you just come out with it, and if anybody in a long relationship for many, many years, they can almost anticipate what's going to happen. It's like a good athlete, a good boxer. I got to a point where after I started boxing for a while, I knew exactly where that gentleman's head was going to be. And so I just made sure I just beat him to the punch by a bit so he could meet it head on instead of me trying to chase that head.
Right.
There's that same sort of pause that you're talking about when you're, dicing, or when you're getting ready to engage.
That's right. That's
too,
right.
right?
Right.
Is certain, pause and then windows.
You guys fire me up when we talk about this stuff. I mean, you're talking about sales, Craig, and you're talking about the discipline of the mind, Dylan. And what's beautiful about this is when we bring these types of conversations together, you become very explosive. Go back to a great book that I follow, and I may have shared this last time, but it's The Power of Positive Leadership by John Gordon. And he talks about the importance of when you have a leader in a company that just loves his team members, just loves them. His motto and philosophy becomes this: no one of us is smarter or more powerful than the rest of us. Always be asking people how I can improve. You know what good leaders do? They ask, hey, what do you see in me that you could share with me that you think would help me tremendously?
Right.
Because one of the biggest mistakes young leaders make is that they feel that they have to know everything when somebody asks them the question because they're in charge, right? And really, you're not in charge, You're building people to take charge.
Right.
Right. And so that's one of the things that I love about this conversation, because we're all starting to vein off with
You're like a conductor at the concert, right?
Yeah. And this is what I love about music, guys. I'm telling you right now, this is what I love about music, is it's so rhythmic. It just has such great tempo and flow and the rhythm. It gets me in a groove when I work out. And my body just senses it. And the muscles sense it. And the psyche senses it.
Oh, yeah.
And you just get going. And you feel unstoppable. Like, I'm in there, and this 30-year-old guy comes up to me and he goes, how old are you, man? At the time I said, I'm 66. And he goes, gosh, your hand speed's really, really good for us. And he goes, it's faster than most 30-year-olds. And I said, I never thought about it that way. I just go to it and I try to improve and get a little faster all the time. And usually you would think as the age goes, you're going to get slower. In my mind, I'm getting faster. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting better. I'm expanding. I'm developing. I'm growing.
That reminds me of when I was first started roofing. And we kind of got on the roofing conversation, so I want to tell Dan this story. But we were hand nailing.
Oh, boy.
And we're like, okay. This was, back in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
But my father-in-law, rest in peace, he was a great man. He was a musician as well as a really fast hand nailer. And the guy could hand nail faster than a guy shooting a nail gun. Like, he would beat him. He would
my goodness.
roof his side first. And I asked him, how do you do that, Bill? Because I tried to, him and I worked together and we'd race. And I'd be like, how do you do this so fast?
Right.
And he says, in my mind, he wouldn't listen to music or anything. He says, in my mind, when I'm roofing, he just says, go faster. go faster.
Oh,
Go
my
faster.
goodness.
Go faster. Go faster.
That's fantastic.
And that's how he would do it. And I mean, the guy was just incredible.
a
He could
system.
hand nail as fast as anybody would shoot with a gun. And,
You know, we're
you'd have
talking
to be
about
there
getting
to
better, right?
See it to believe it, yeah.
Wow. I think that's great. I would love to have been present for that.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Great guy. But
that's
and then
great.
just the durability too. He had once broke the top of his foot and roofed for about 4 hours with it. I couldn't believe it. He was there, and all of his motivation was for his family. Everything he did, worked on cars, built a big, huge house, and I mean, everything he did was just. And the dedication to that, and just how hard he worked is, our family will never, obviously forget him.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
for sure.
Well,
sure.
I heard
patriarch of our family.
I heard the clue to how to stay young in your older age, and it's Clint Eastwood said it, and I heard it today, and I thought it was a pretty good one. Is that just don't let the old man in?
Oh, boy. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's great, Craig. That's true. Everybody puts a ceiling over their head, or they put the parameters around them. And back to a gentleman that I met. He runs his own appliance repair parts company. His name's Clint. Great guy. Clint says, if you decide to put a limit on your potential, you will surely attain that level. Right? You will, because you just think you're only capable of so much. And we are also capable of so much more. Matter of fact, I'm sure that all of us sitting in this room today, the awesome athletes behind us working out, have yet to reach a level of potential that we are capable of. Back to, I think last time I shared this, and it's one of the greatest things I've read on this subject. And it came from the Little Book of Talent by Daniel Coyle, and he quoted Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein stated that one must develop an instinct as to what one could barely achieve through one's greatest efforts. So the key word is barely. What could you almost do if you tried your absolute hardest? Mark that spot, and then reach a little bit further, and that's the sweet spot. Yeah. So we always stretch. We always stretch, and we need to stretch, because if you don't stretch, you know what happens?
You tear a muscle.
Bingo. Bingo. Just look at this. Even athletically, right? If you don't stretch your brain, you get complacent and you start making excuses. And I've shared that with you before. I don't have to repeat it again.
Yeah.
But excuses become the nails that build houses of failure. And if you're not careful, you'll soon have the mansion built.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you believe you can't do something, and if you believe you can't do something, you're right on both of those.
That's right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. If that's what you believe, then you're right.
Yeah.
It's just like,
yeah. I think we were all born to win, and we've given the intellect to gain the knowledge, and once you get the knowledge, it's now to act upon our will. You talked about that, right? Willpower, Dylan. Will, right? If you have the willpower, it's amazing. What you can
from
do.
my outlook is we won't adapt if we don't have willpower, because we're really kind of lazy animals. We're always seeking the path of least resistance. We're always, how can we do? So it all ties into, for me, the willpower is what makes us adapt, ability to adapt. Otherwise, we just,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just and another thing too we've touched on before is trying to do too many things at once, right? So I mean, we're only capable of, and people, pretty much everybody can multitask. If they put their mind to it. It doesn't take much to multitask. Most people do anyway, especially if you have children. You're multitasking every day.
yeah.
So, those are situations also where we've already adapted to it, so it doesn't need to be adapted anymore, right? We get our little systems, hey, bedtime's there, this is dinner time, everything's kind of laid out, right? So there's no more adaptation that needs to occur because it's all laid out. until we decide to do something else.
That's
or
right.
Until we
That's
decide.
right.
And the youthful mind, like you said earlier, the don't let the old man in, and I totally agree with that, because I love being around my grandchildren, because
same here.
they just totally reinforce that.
Yes,
right?
they do.
Their minds are so whimsical,
Yes,
and they're so
they do.
Creative, like just just happy. I mean, they really just want to be happy and silly and fun. Sometimes that obviously goes a little too far, and but
Will.
but we we love being with those. I think that's what keeps us young. I know that's what helps. Keep
It
me,
does for me too.
my
Does.
mind on task with what I need to do as well.
I hear different sides, different stories from both sides of that, and I've heard, hey, if you're feeding something, you're starving something, right? It goes back to priorities. If you're going to do something, Brian Tracy, one of the guys I love to follow, talks about, if you're going to do something, focus on doing it and do it better than anybody else. Just decide to do it as well as you can. Block everything else out, and then you can give 100%. And I think that is the way to do that. Yep. Now, I believe that. I really do. I'm strong about that. Can I multitask? Yeah, but not very well. Mm-hmm. Because I might be able to feed a little bit here, feed a little bit, and nothing gets done. So the prioritization will drive that.
When I started Taekwondo, it was finish what you begin.
Ooh,
and that was
good.
the whole thing.
That's good.
And so it puts you in a mindset where, like you said earlier too, Craig. I'm selective about, or I'm all in. Right? You're all in on everything, but that tells me that you're also very selective about what you're all in for. Mm-hmm. Because you do an amazing amount of things, obviously, that people just aren't aware of. Your closest friends, like Will and I, and and Dan and stuff, we know, that it's just it's what we do. It's what you love to do, and so we're smiling on and we're cheering on along the way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's the team, right?
Right.
That's this team. That's this cell. That's this team. And we can share things that we can learn, and you're with your roofing crew too, or I was with Gerard,
right?
And you can, and I see that's what Dan does. He takes this from this team. Okay, well then I can use that as an example for this team that might not know, and let these people know each other and how each other are operating, so they can learn from each other.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's being excited about what you do too. When you're excited, it's even when I was sharing with the team earlier in the week, the executive team over there with Gerard and American Asphalt and Sealing. I said to them, something. I go, you've got a lot of talent in here. You need to share that talent. You need to spread it out, right? Mm-hmm. And you need to help each other in areas that you're not. If you got a strength, please turn it on to somebody. Please.
Yeah.
Right. Why would you hide? Why would you hold that in? It's kind of selfish, right? So I think, yes, human beings, we feel our very best when we're contributing to something worthy and something wholesome, and we don't care who gets the credit. That's the tough one. See, some people are like, hey, that was my idea. Well, maybe it was your idea, and it got missed. People know what talent you bring.
Or somebody improved on that idea and made it happen because there was something that needed to push it along. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think it's important too, as a team member, is kind of realizing that, hey, you're the new guy on the team, and even though there's a supervisor chair open, it doesn't mean that you need to jump right into that chair, because you're still new to the team, and there's other people that have been working at that job that you're doing for a longer time, and give them a shot at that chair before you maybe jump up and do it, even if you are qualified for it.
That's right.
Sometimes promotion is actually earning yourself a place next to the door instead of actually keeping you on the team.
That's good.
Something to keep in mind. And I mean, it's, I think when you take on a supervisor role, you're actually, the amount of extra responsibility that you're taking on, it might not be what you envisioned in the first place in joining the team. Maybe you saw yourself as a supporting role and not necessarily a team lead. Yeah. Even if you are one that has the skills to be a team lead, it's just, I just know that, like, my passion is music. So, like, my day job is a supplement to my passion. So like if I take on a lead role at that job, now all of a sudden I'm going to be required to spend more time at it, more time away from it, at it. So it's like, well, this might impede on what I really am passionate about, and that's, making music and playing live shows. So,
Yeah. I was in Florida in January and the beginning of February, and our son Vincent, he's about 27 now, and his therapy when he comes home from work is he pulls out his guitar and he starts playing.
Yeah,
and he's just in a good place. He's just a down-to-earth guy anyway, but he finds that peace and serenity in that. And I always like that. Our family grew up, not my family personally, but my wife and I, with the kids, we got them into music right away. My wife was a real strong proponent of getting them into learning piano, and then from piano to violin, from violin to banjo, guitar, fiddling. Yeah. They do a little bit of everything. And it always brings a lot of happiness when we get together and somebody pulls out an instrument and starts playing, and then we start singing and we start laughing and we start joking. We're happy.
Yeah.
And it brings a lot of happiness, brings people together. That's what's beautiful thing about music.
Campfires.
Campfires. And music, just tells stories that just go right to the heart, man.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what I've noticed, too, is that, being super into music, it's like, and being out there and gigging 5 nights a week and feeling, and rehearsing, too, and feeling my vocals, being strained. Ooh. To the point to where it's like it's physically hurting me. Yeah. To where it's like I'm manifesting back pain and all this other stuff along with it, and I'm thinking in my head going like, well, this is what I'm really passionate about and I love what I do, but at the same time I can see that I'm becoming limited. And that can be something that I've heard from people too, that like, hey, they do what they love to do, and well, now it's like that joy of it is kind of worn off, and it's like, how do you keep trudging through the trenches when you're just completely, exhausted and worn out, and that's where, the discipline comes in. It's like still doing it because, you love it so much that you're going to do that.
Oh gosh. Okay. So see, this is really good. You get to a point where you hit that pain threshold. Okay. There's nobody, spotting you on the bench press right now. And you got to get that next one up. If you don't, it's on your neck, and then there's a funeral. Right? You don't need that, right? So this is what you're talking. This is what I love is that your body, you get to know yourself pretty well. So I even go back to the point of health, right? So I'm not going to sit here and pontificate about, you got to eat this, you got to drink that. I think we all know what we got to do to take care of our bodies. The key is the discipline again, Craig, which you talk about a lot, which I like. And that is, and even Dylan, you with the control of the mind, to be so, have the willpower to say, okay, I need to get that breakfast in, although it be light one breakfast or whatever. I need to have something for lunch. I need to feel good. I need to get sleep. You need to get enough sleep, right? Mm-hmm. And you do need to exercise. You got to get your body going. And, a lot of the, musicians that I know, a lot of them, they are in good shape. The stuff they have to do on stage and the movements that they have and the mental
if you want your rig to get you from point A to point B, you better have some clean oil in it.
Yeah.
Some good tires. And
I got a good story for you.
Full tank of gas.
Oh, you'd have to. You have to, right? Yeah. So my brother was in Hawaii. This is about 4 years ago. And he was, he's a retired master sergeant from the Marine Corps. So he and his wife, they go to Hawaii maybe like every 3 months or so, maybe sometimes a little more often. And she does some work back there and all that too. But so he was on the golf course, and he was with a twosome, a couple from Australia, and a nice couple in their 40s. And he says, we get on the first hole, we hit off, and we get to the second hole, and there's a single coming from behind. My brother thought, because he now is a retired, gunny sergeant, he now works in a golf course, and he checks people in and does all that, works the pro shop, right? So he said, well, you want to keep the speed of play going properly, right, on the golf course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So here, this guy comes walking behind him, and he says, gosh, that guy looks really familiar. And as he gets closer, he said, sir, would you happen to be Alice Cooper? And he said, yes, I'm Alice Cooper. He goes, would you like to join us? And he says, it would be a privilege and honor to join you. And so we introduced him to the couple. And my brother said, about a hole later. Now, Alice, we're gonna ask you for it. He goes, I know you're gonna want a picture, right? He says, I would be disappointed if you didn't want to take a picture with me. I really would like that. And then Alice, along the next, 16 holes, was telling my brother story of his life. He said it was phenomenal. What he went through, how he had to get away from, the tough lifestyle of, intoxication and all the other goodies that go along with it. And his wife was very instrumental in disciplining him and saying, hey, it's either this or that. And he said, I cleaned up my act. He said, I've been happy. Do you know he's an amazing golfer? He's like a scratch golfer. This guy hits in the late 70s and low 80s. And he's like amazing. My brother said his swing was phenomenal.
That's the way Craig's dad is too, Doug, man. He's a great golfer.
Oh,
I love going golfing with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because I always get the instructional, tour. He always gives me, hey, backswing slower, and
Yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
knows how to do the hook and the fade.
Yeah. He just wants to see me do my best. But your dad, I have to mention Doug, because he's just a great, we're on the golf.
That's nice to hear that.
He is another great, leader and in his own right, and and just
it's pretty cool that I'm doing the Wednesday night radio show now, because I get to warm up for my dad, because my dad comes in and he's Dr.
Cool.
He's Dirt Road Doug, and he's been doing his radio show for quite a few years.
How many years? Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
been a while.
It's been a while, but he's always Wednesday night from 8 to 10, and so now I'm doing the 6 to 8 slot, and so I'm planning on bringing in guests, so that they can kind of come in and maybe, kind of bridge the gap, like I can interview them and then maybe they could perform while they're on Dad's show, and it's just going to be fun. And it's nice because I can just sit there for a little bit and listen to him, and then on my way back home, I can tune it into the radio and listen to the rest of his show as I commute home. So it's really cool.
Craig, I want to share this right now. It just hit me. Being a guest on this show is really a lot of fun, by the way. But I'm always very impressed and intrigued with the talents that people bring to their professions. And you're good at this. I love the way Dylan just steps in, interacts, and Will behind the scenes. I mean, gosh, you guys know what you're doing. You're setting me up. You're getting the mic in the right place. You're making sure that the sound is good, the lighting's good, all the preparatory stuff. And see, isn't that what it's all about? How you prep, right? The separation is in the preparation. The separation's always in the preparation. And people that are shooting to be the very best and shooting for tough to attain, perfection, guess how perfection comes? It comes from correction.
Well, and I mean, just putting this together, and it's like I had reached out to Daniel Randall, who's behind us doing,
awesome,
practicing, and then to talk to Sam Bradley to invite us down, to see if the invitation would be okay, that we came down and did the podcast here, and then to actually have Connor and Alexa, who's the next generation that's going to be taking over Bradley's.
I love it.
Is just awesome to have them here and to be able to get them involved in the shoot of it. And this is something I envisioned. I mean, I thought that doing the next podcast with you, Dan, and doing it in a gym was just ideal.
Oh, it's perfect. This is perfect. I mean, I'm excited to tell, people that I know real well hey, you got to catch this episode, because it's just right now I'm getting the goosebumps just thinking about it.
The world of fighting, there's just so many, things that correlate there with what we're talking about, even in business. And I was, it's probably one of the best things a person can do in their life, in my opinion, is to engage in some kind of martial art. It just creates all the discipline. You get tough, you get stronger. You get you're more sharp about what you're doing. Your ideas are, laid out. It's structured, because in these katas that they do, there's a certain amount of moves. You've got to do them right.
Yes.
Right.
It really enhances our ability to, pre-plan, our own whatever, things that we like to do.
Well, I don't know if I mentioned it to you guys, but I did mention it to Sam when I came in. I had when I was about 7, I went into karate for 6 months, and it was down in California. And of course the sensei didn't speak English very well, but I mean, I just remember it very, very well. And, doing the, the different, there was different exercises that we did, learning how to block, learning how to kick, learning how to, punch correctly, with your knuckles in the right way. But then coming home to Chewelah and then meeting up with my best friend, and he kind of giving me a hard time, like, you don't know how to do karate, you don't know how to do this. So I proceeded to sidekick him through his closet door, because I still haven't, I didn't master my temper yet, but I definitely knew how to do it. Yeah, I had the sidekick down. So his dad was all pissed because I broke the closet door, but he never questioned me again about my karate skills.
Like they say in Tennessee mountains, I wish I'd given a gallon of whiskey to have been there.
Well, another thing's funny too is, like, I was on the phone with Dan talking. We're pumping each other up, and we're going to be doing this podcast together. And I told him that I was going to tell him about my big win. And honestly, I've had so many big wins that it's hard for me to figure out exactly which one I was talking about at that time.
Pick one of the 150 you've had this last week.
Oh man, it's so hard to say. I mean, when I was on the phone with you, actually, there was a piece of, like, it was like somebody's lawn chair came flying out of the back of the rig, and I drove over it and didn't try to swerve. So that was a win. I didn't actually end up, spinning out on the highway.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I had you on my, like, I have some headphones with a Bluetooth speaker, so it wasn't like, driving with the phone in my hands, but still at the same time, it was just like, whoa, well, that just happened. So, that was a win, but I don't remember what the other wins were. I mean, it probably had to do with sales and the
I'm
team
sure it did.
and being down there at the Anthony Smith Construction. So
a success story, you have a story to tell, and if you win, it's sort of like the reward system, right? You work out hard, and you want to maybe have a nice meal when you get home, right? And you want to get to bed early.
If you're selling, you got a story to tell every day.
Every day.
Man. Yeah.
And you want to ride that wave. I always say Big Mo. You mentioned it earlier, momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum needs to be our best friend, because when you get momentum going, there's no stopping you. Now, I do want to say, when I first came in here today, I felt like very uplifted when I came in here. Ownership, leadership, what they do here, you can just feel that energy and that passion. What I love about mixed martial artists, and I'm really high on them, and I'm a boxer, right? And I know that's a discipline. Wrestling kind of gets worked in there too. But what I've come to find over all the years, and the people that I've met in this type of atmosphere, is they're very humble, very grateful for opportunities. And there's a great respect and common courtesy that they share with one another. Ideal Team Player, a great book. I've shared that with you before, Dylan, and I think maybe on the last podcast. But, they have 3 ingredients: humble, hungry, and smart, right? Right. Back to humble doesn't mean you think less of yourself. It just means you think of yourself less.
Yeah, or you think yourself less. That's right.
Yeah. And then you're hungry. You want to grow. You want to expand. You want to learn. And you can learn from anyone. I don't care what age you are, right? You can learn from anyone. And then really the smart part is people smart, reading the situation, reading the room. One thing I've always shared with our kids is, especially the boys, when I was talking about future, going out and trying to earn jobs and working together with the company and other people, is no matter where you are, who you meet, when you meet them, you are always being interviewed.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
I like that.
Everyone's being interviewed. One of my machine tool clients in Oakdale, California, he did a lot of high-end medical equipment, medical devices. And he said he would hire his people. When he would go into Starbucks, he would watch who was really engaged behind the other side. Who was engaged with the cut, and were they consistent? When they put a smile on their face and they said, "Hey, how can I help you win today? Get you that cup of coffee you want? What would you like? I'm ready to go." And when they turned away, did they still have that smile on their face? Yeah. Right? It wasn't just for show. Yeah. It was for the real go and flow. And so he hired a fair share of people from Starbucks. And I asked him one time, I go, where do you get your good people? He goes, it starts there, because I watch how they interface and engage with people.
That's where my buddy Zach, that plays guitar, he manages a Starbucks.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
It's funny you
There
mentioned
you go.
Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah.
of
And I'll
him
tell you,
when he was
Yeah.
saying that.
As soon as you said that, I thought,
Yeah.
Zach,
Exactly.
and he is that person.
Oh, totally.
But let's go back to a state of mind for a moment here. This is what I love. You guys get me fired up. By the way, dang it, man, I could go on and on, but I better not. But when you get yourself in a state of mind that you really, really, feel good about what you're doing,
Flow state.
flow state. As my buddy Lee Kemp, the great wrestler guy that I did a talk with, said, unlimited possibilities. Everybody hits adversity. There's no doubt. You have to learn to get through adversity. It's just part of life, right? And secondly, you have to want to leave a legacy that people go, wow, what an impression they left on me. Wow, a great impression. And lastly, unlimited possibilities. And you can expand upon that greatly. But that state of mind that who you see is who you'll be. Like I'm going to visualize what I'm going to accomplish and who I'm going to do it with. And I'm going to go at it with great gusto because I believe in it. And last time I shared that 5P plan, it's worth repeating again, that it's purpose, passion, preparation, persistence, and performance. And it's all very sequential. And there is no way that you can feel really good about yourself unless you're getting the results that you want. And you can't get the results that you want without taking great action. And action...
We're starting out with a good purpose, right?
Yeah, right. Because your great action is driven by your attitude, and your attitude is driven by your purpose. See, with purpose, you have a good attitude.
Right.
Because you know what you're doing. You know why you're going to work, right? And I've said it before. Nobody gets in the car. I don't know of anybody. I've never met a person that gets up in the morning, grabs her keys, gets in the car, starts driving away, and says, I can't wait to have a horrible day today.
Yeah.
The people don't do that. Because we're all optimistic. We feel that we can have a better day, right? We do feel that we're going to go after Moby Dick in the rowboat, and we're bringing the tartar sauce along. We're going to eat. We're going to eat today.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's something that I try to do with the team, and we kind of do it to each other, is that we're always just pumping each other up because we got a group chat, and so when one guy on the team is making a sale, everybody else is rooting him on, and then
I
it's
love
like,
that.
and then you're just looking for your chance to get your positive feedback from your sale, and it just kind of goes around. It just creates like this tornado of just push and positivity.
I like that. That's big that your team is doing that. That is probably one of the most powerful things you could be doing, because what you're really saying is, I value what you do, and I'm happy for your success.
Dimitar and I, a lot of times he'd be on that one side of town, and if I had something that was, he's already blocks down the road. It's like, it's yours, man. Go get it. You know? So I really enjoyed working with him because that we had that team effort going, just like that. It didn't matter who made the sale. It's like, come on, guys, let's just do it. Let's just get it.
Dylan, I'm glad you brought that up. Because I remember you telling me those stories. Yeah, I really do.
Yeah,
and that's a lesson I think I need to kind of think about, because it's like you have your lead sheet of people that are right on the cusp of either signing or you're making the sale with, and it's like sometimes you logistically can't physically get there, and that it's like crunch time. Like if you don't do it today, it's tomorrow. It's like the percentage of the possibility just kind of declines a little bit.
Yes.
I like to be, I like to think that I keep the rapport really well to where I can sell that in a week, I can sell that in a month, I can sell that in 2 months, but it's not the reality of it. The reality of it is it's time sensitive. It's like you lose that energy as you let it go.
Oh boy, that's
and
good.
It can, it's true, and it can be random too.
Yeah.
It can be random where
that's great.
It might be a whole month out, and you might have thought you lost the sale, and all of a sudden, because you've kept that in your mind, that person will call you. That is so random.
Yeah.
That's my experience with sales, and it's just, any time that I would get a customer with any roofing or asphalt sales, all my attention went to that. And there's a lot going on, so sometimes what it would be really important, sometimes you really got to, give it 5 minutes and, I'll get back to it. But right now, when you see that turning point in the customer and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. They're ready to pull a checkbook out, You know that feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've done your work now it's time to consummate the deal and be done with it.
That's right.
And so once that point in that window arises, that's all my attention goes to that customer.
Right.
I'll literally even turn my phone off until I'm done, and it may only take, because you're going to do it faster if you don't have any distractions.
Yeah.
For number one, you're going to get through it quicker, and you'll be able to get back to what your buddies need help with.
Oh, good.
But everybody needs to understand that those moments arise. Everybody on the team's got to understand, hey, there's a reason why, that it generates more good energy. They're like, Craig's not calling me back. He must be in the middle of a really good one. I don't want to bother him anyway, right?
Yeah.
Right,
You don't want to bug the guy when he's ready to
right.
sign. So
Fine line between urgency and patience. We have to have a sense of urgency.
Yes.
Things need to get done. You were talking about a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then the patience part where you think, okay, strategically it's best to give this person just a little bit of breathing room. But that is only going to happen if you clearly understand the different buying characteristics of the personality that you're working with.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because the director type will say, Craig, I got 2 minutes. If you can convince me, great. If you can't, get out of my house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you
and
got
then the
2 minutes.
relator type's like, sit down with me. Hey, watch the ball game with me. And you're like, I got to be somewhere. But you don't say anything. He's like, isn't this great? Here, grab a beer. And you're grabbing a beer. And next thing you know, you're just going to get to the, like, hey, let me show you. Yeah, we'll get to that. And then you finally get to it and you get a sale, right? But you're like, this is what you got to learn how to deal with, right? Everybody's different.
Yeah, I've had the ones where it's like we got them, the first day, 1 hour, and then I've had ones where I'm still working it, and it's like I show up about, after I hadn't heard from them for 3 weeks, just kind of pop over, and then 3 more weeks. I'm like, okay, great, and it's just one of those that just takes a little longer.
Yeah, and people aren't going to buy anything unless they feel there's value that you're bringing to them. The best definition, I read this about 9 months ago. The best definition I've ever heard of what sales really means. And it's like an onion, right? You're peeling it off. It's simply uncovering value in what you're offering that is done so well that someone is willing to reach into their pockets, transfer money to you for the value that you have revealed. Uncovering the value, and you do that in your presentation.
Right.
We do that in the steps of sales, getting attention, building interest, painting a picture, a desire for the product or the service or the concept, the idea. And then you take it to the conviction stage. You mentioned when they open the checkbook, zip up your mouth and let them sign.
yeah, for sure.
Right? Sometimes it's the logical conclusion to a great presentation, really. When somebody opens up their checkbook, I had a guy one time said to me, he goes, hey, I made him an offer. And he says, my wife says, never open the checkbook out. Never bring the checkbook out. He told me just like that. Hey, Dan, Dale Mowry, Dace Manufacturing, Modesto, California. I remember it well. He said, hey, my wife, the little redhead, says, don't break out the checkbook until you create value. So I stepped back for a moment. I took a breather, and I mean like 10, 15 seconds. And I said, I use the word if. I said, Dale, if I were able, on top of what I'm proposing to you now, if I were able to throw in a 15-piece tooling package and some tooling, perishable tooling certificate from Kennametal, how would you feel about moving forward? So
There's
you
that
I use the
word.
word. There's that word, feel.
I heard it.
Okay.
How do you feel? You're appealing to the emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and that's
So-
where I learned this.
That's
I
right.
learned this
Yeah.
from being around Dan.
Yeah. And so
I
guess
never
what
really-
Dale
I
said?
really know- yeah.
Dale smiled and he goes, I can bring out the checkbook now. So Dale and I got along so well. Dale ended up buying 3 or 4 machines from me over the years, and he'd allow me to bring my kids in to see what they do there. And we'd go stop at this bakery because we'd go to church, and then we'd come in the bakery on a Saturday, and we'd pick up these big old huge like croissants, plain croissants. They look like footballs, and we'd bring them over. And Dale would say, "Oh, you went to Hana's today, didn't you, boys? And your dad took you to
How does
Hana's."
that make a person feel, too,
Yeah. So I always would bring what I think the best thing a person can do in sales is, don't make it about a product. Don't make it about a service. It is how will it change the lives of those people that you are working with?
Yeah.
So really what you do is I get excited. I get excited by how people, like when I sell a $100,000 machine, I get excited about what the machine's going to do for them in their shop and what it's going to create. The dreams come true, the opportunities, because the financial growth from that machine will change things for people in the company and their personal lives.
Wow.
And I think if salespeople can understand that it's not a service, it's not about that. Yeah, logistically it is, administratively it is, but it really is about emotionally connecting. It's a feeling, right? And I heard this, one of the guys on the Shark Tank, he said, good salespeople sell feature benefits. Excellent people sell great outcomes. He says the very best salespeople sell feelings.
Yeah. That is it right there, for sure. Appeal to the emotion.
Yeah.
Oh, when I'm sitting in the audience and a band's playing and the music is awesome, I'm like, man, they are definitely connecting with my emotional side. I'm just like, oh, man, this is great, So anyway.
Well, Dan, I want to thank you very much for joining us here at Bradley's Taekwondo in the beautiful little burg of Chewelah, Washington. This is my hometown. I was actually born in the hospital down the road.
Wow,
so,
that's something. This is talk about home turf, right?
Totally home turf. And
well, it's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do a radio show at KCHW 102.7. I've been doing the At Lunch podcast with Will Dillon. And it's been just a great time, and then to be able to come into the dojo and talk with you and get the adrenaline we needed. We needed a nice adrenaline shot to just keep us floating, keep our momentum moving, especially with the trying times that have transpired in the last couple of days for me personally. Yeah. So I'm just I just want to thank you very much, Dan, for coming in.
My pleasure.
And do you guys have anything else you wanted to
my pleasure.
talk or anything about? I do want to get hey Daniel, can you get them to come up here? I want you guys to all do a bow on the camera here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, before she leaves, I know she's out of uniform now, but
that's okay.
Yeah, this is like kind of it's a customary thing for them to do is a nice little bow. The dream team up here. Yeah, go ahead and get in camera. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and just do a nice little bow for us. So thank you from Bradley's Taekwondo in Chewelah.
Thank you very much for the welcome, kind welcome.
Yep, we will catch you on the next episode of the At Lunch podcast. Take care.
To respond back to every critic. Nope. Sometimes the strongest move is just putting their voice on mute. Hey, I wanted to tell you. Hey, everybody, I'm Jeff Kenley, whether it's day 1 or day 100. Let's take a moment together to breathe. Because today counts. Hey, in recovery and in life, negativity is everywhere. Everywhere, right? It's online, it's at work, it's in the family. Honestly, in our own heads, just as much as anywhere else, right? If you listen to every negative voice, you'd never take another step. But at some point, you have to decide whose voice gets the microphone, hello, check, check, and whose gets unplugged. Some people speak from fear, jealousy, or their own unhealed pain, and their words say more about where they are than who you are. You do not have to let their opinions sit in the captain's chair of your life. It's not their chair, it's yours. Not everyone gets a vote on your progress. Nope. Letting yourself be deaf to negativity doesn't mean you ignore truth or love correction. It means you filter. Is this helping me grow or just tearing me down? Does this line up with what my higher power, my recovery, and what my trusted people say about me? If not, it doesn't deserve front row. Get them out of the seat. Get them out of the seat of your mind. You're allowed to turn down the volume. That might look like limiting certain conversations, stepping away from toxic feeds, or refusing to replay hurtful words on repeat. Every time you choose peace over poison, you're protecting the work God is doing in you right now. You are not who the loudest negative voice says you are. You are who you're becoming, one honest, humble, faithful step at a time. It is okay to let some opinions fade into the background so you can actually hear the truth. We love you. That's the truth. Hey, what's one negative voice, external or internal, that you need to turn way down this week? Drop it in the comments if you're willing to share it. Remember, progress over perfection, because today counts. Hey, you got this. Peace, love, y'all. Thanks for showing up.